You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
Good morning. I'm here this morning with John Meyer, the Executive Director of the Indian Creek Nature Center in Cedar Rapids. John, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm wonderful.
Beautiful
it's a beautiful
day,
day
huh?
out here. Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't ask for a better day. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to the Indian Creek Nature Center.
Sure.
Background, schooling, where you're from, things
Sure.
like that. And then let's dive into the fantastic nature center that you have and the trails and all the good things you got going on in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I actually, my journey at nature started, I grew up on the East Coast of the United States.
Really?
And actually lived in Virginia for my formative years. And we lived on an acreage. And so I spent a lot of time outside, tromping through the woods, going through streams. And that's really where I learned a lot about appreciation. We lived in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so we did, my parents did a lot of hiking and backpacking with me. We did a lot of camping, but just that free time outside was really where I grew up. And that cemented, my goal was never to go into a nature career, but that really cemented who I was. You know, building stick forts out in the woods is just a pretty magical experience when you're 10 years old.
Yeah, I bet. What'd your folks do?
So my dad actually worked within the paper industry, and so he moved to Iowa to work for Cedar River Paper, which is now International Paper.
Sure.
And so I actually came to Iowa kicking and screaming, believe it or not. So living in the mountains, and we moved here right before I started high school. And so moving from Virginia to Iowa, it was hard. But like I tell you, 25 some years later, I'm still here with my family, and it's a great place to live. But
yeah, the first shock, probably East Coast, like corn, hogs, beans, cattle, level, everything's flat. That's not true. But
it feels that way when you're coming from the mountains. But I mean, it's a great place to live, and we have great nature outdoors too.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So you got here. You're in Cedar Rapids. Went to school in Cedar Rapids, right? Going to further education.
Graduated from Linn-Mar, and then I went to Kirkwood, and then Upper Iowa University.
Peacocks.
All
yeah,
right. Good. Not everybody knows that.
Fayette. Yeah. That's up where I have a farm near Wadena.
Okay.
Which is just outside of Fayette. So.
Yeah, great school. I got a degree in business there, and never intended to go into nonprofits and nature centers, but it was a great, had those high school years, college years were great formative. In fact, I lived for a little while when I was going to Kirkwood. I lived not far from where we're shooting this right now in Coralville for a few years. Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Good. So let's get to the Indian Creek Nature Center. I mean, I don't know. Tell us all about it. A little bit I read is you have 500 acres. How many miles of trails? 7 miles?
7 miles of trails.
Just amazing. And you got an incredible center. I think you raised $8 million for the center, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll let you tell us the story, but talk about what you've done since you've been there. Talk about what people can enjoy, how they can enjoy it.
Well, you know, Indian Creek Nature Center started in 1973 by 2 women, B.B. Staymates of the Staymates family, and Jean O'Donnell, who is actually was the mother-in-law of Mayor Tiffany O'Donnell. So the O'Donnell and Staymates families were the ones that started the Nature Center, and they did it because, for 2 reasons, really. They wanted to see protected green space in Cedar Rapids. This was in the 70s, and as things were growing and as urban sprawl was happening, they wanted to have protected land. But they also saw that their kids were spending time inside. Now, the screens were a little bit bigger, but they were still screens, TVs in the 70s, and so they wanted to have an opportunity for their children to be outside. And so they came together, and they worked to start Indian Creek Nature Center. And I really like my personal connection there because I know the benefits of spending time outdoors. And that's exactly why they started Indian Creek Nature Center back in the 70s.
How'd they start it? 5 acres, 10 acres, a building?
They actually talked to the city of Cedar Rapids, and they leased an old dairy barn that was built in 1932. It was the Penningroth Dairy. It was actually the first home delivery milk glass jars that would come from the dairy. They came from this Penningroth Dairy on the southeast side of Cedar Rapids. So the city acquired the farm in the 60s due to a flood buyout, actually, from the 60s. And it had been sitting there not being used. And so these 2 women said, hey, can we turn this into a nature center? And so in 1973, the city agreed to let them lease 10 acres of land as well as this barn. And that's very, very humble beginnings. They were turning dirt floors and haylofts into educational and interpretive space.
Wow, 73, that's the year I graduated from high school. How about that, huh?
Yeah.
About 50 years ago, a little over 50 years ago.
Yeah, we celebrated our 50th anniversary last year.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell us about you got that going on. Tell us about the trails. Where'd they come from? The railroad?
So the trails actually were all made by Nature Center staff and volunteers. So they were, over the years, we've acquired a number of acres of land. It started meagerly at 10, but acquired a number of acres. And we ultimately cobbled together different properties, and we just built trails based upon where we thought that people would enjoy walking and enjoying nature and the outdoors. And so we have recently expanded our land base again and added another 1.5 miles to get to that full 7 that we're at. But the trails are a really important piece of our work because I would say about half of our visitors that come to the Nature Center, we have about 55,000 people that come through every year.
That's amazing.
About half of those are actually just coming out to walk the trails.
Really?
And they're people who want to just do a casual stroll, but we actually there's a huge trail running crowd that loves to run the trails early in the morning. There's dog walkers, there's bird watchers. The trails are such a great way to get outside and improve your physical and your mental health.
Yeah. Tell us about the building. I know you raise a lot of money for that, and it's zero net or sustainability. Tell us about all the stuff you're doing in your building.
Well, we started in that dairy barn, as I mentioned, and ultimately one of the things that we wanted to do was grow to accommodate the demand. The community, from trails to programming to events, they wanted to continue to see more out of the Nature Center. So about 10 years ago, we set off on a vision to move out of that dairy barn and create our own headquarters. And so one of the things, the little bit of history that I have to give you is that over the years, we were very focused within the dairy barn about doing sustainability. In fact, we put solar panels onto that dairy barn in the 90s, 1992, before many people even knew what solar was.
Right.
And in fact, the original solar panels that we had were at one point sat on the White House. And so there was an initiative there where they had solar, and when the next president came in, he took it down, and they auctioned off those panels, and we were able to work with our congressional representatives to get a few of those panels to put on the Nature Center. And so
that's interesting.
Little bit of history there, but we've always been focused on how can we do things more environmentally friendly? How can we focus on sustainability? And so that when we went to build our own building, we knew that we had to really level up our sustainability game and what was going to be something that the community could look to and what could the community really celebrate as part of the opportunity to invest in a new facility. And so many people are familiar with LEED certification. LEED is a great green building program that focuses on doing better and doing things more sustainable. But it is a program that still has a negative impact on the environment. And so we sought out to find a program that was truly regenerative. And the difference between sustainability and regenerative is that regenerative actually produces back. It gives back to the environment. So using energy as an example, we're not just producing the energy that we're using, we're actually producing more. We're producing about 20% more electricity than we use, and we're giving that back to the power grid for others to use. And so we sought out a program that was regenerative, and that was called the Living Building Challenge. And at the time, we were the only nature center throughout the United States, and there's over 1,800 nature centers in the United States that was going after a Living Building Challenge program. It's administered out of Washington, Seattle, Washington, and it is a program that exists in 30 different countries. But it's truly challenging to get. Not only does it focus on net zero energy and producing more than you use, but it focuses that way on water too, which is especially prevalent in Iowa when we're talking about water quality and flooding. We have to draw all of our water from the site, and we have to return all of our water back to the site.
So you're on a well.
We're on a well, we're on a septic system, but we also have to prove that we harvest our rainwater. We actually prove that all of the water that falls on the site stays on the site through a combination of bioswales, permeable pavers, wetlands, so that we're not pushing any water into the ditches. Our property sits at the confluence of Indian Creek and the Cedar River. Beautiful area of town, but an area that's really, really prone to flooding. And Cedar Rapids, Iowa City are no strangers to flooding and what that means. And so our goal is to show different practices that you can do to minimize flooding and minimize pushing water into the ditches.
Do the trails go all the way to Pleasant Creek, the little pond?
They do. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, our trail system connects to the Sac and Fox Trail, which then connects to every single trail in the Cedar Rapids metro area. So you could ride your bike from Newbo or from the northeast side of town and get to Cedar Rapids. In fact, with the Cedar Valley Nature Trail, you could ride your bike from Waterloo or Iowa City and get to Indian Creek Nature Center.
Tell us, how large is the building?
So the building is, it's 12,000 square feet.
Okay.
It really serves three main functions. It serves office space, the boringest piece of it all, but it serves as an educational classroom space. So even though a lot of our programs are outside, Iowa weather and rain, we always have to have indoor space. But then it also serves as event and gathering space. And so not only do we have our own programs, we often host adult programs, field trip programs for kids, but we host weddings and graduation parties, business retreats and rentals. And the building is all designed, as I mentioned, to be sustainable and regenerative. Ultimately, we've used materials that don't have a negative impact on the environment or that really decrease their negative environmental impact.
Tell me about a class, if you hold classes or you talk to kids. What do you tell them?
So we have a variety of type of education programs. One of our most popular ones right now is called Creekside Forest School, which is a nature-based preschool. And so it's a state licensed preschool for 3 to 5 year olds. And they actually come out to the Nature Center and spend their 9-month school year at Indian Creek outside.
Wow.
80 to 90% of their time, all seasons around, is spent outside.
Really? In the winter, too?
In the winter. So our mantra is there's no bad weather, there's just bad gear.
Yeah.
So we provide gear we provide all of the spring and winter gear that's necessary for a child to spend time outside. And those, like we were talking about at the beginning with my experience, and I know yours, is that those are the formative years, right? If you really want to get somebody connected to nature and the outdoors. So our preschool is one of those opportunities where we can really immerse them.
Do you have animals, pets? Do you have birds? Do you have butterflies? What all do you have?
We do. We have, seasonally, we have monarch butterflies in our hoop house. But year-round, we have both box and painted turtles. We have snakes. We have salamanders and toads and fish and all of those things. In fact, it's a great place for people to come out and just visit on a weekend or a day off of school or a day off of work to see and interact with the outdoors.
What's your hours?
We are open. The trails are open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., and the building is open from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 7 days a week.
7 days a week. Wow.
Yeah.
Keeps you busy.
So we really believe in getting kids, families, and adults outside. And so we have free yoga programs every Tuesday evening during the summer. We often see about 100 people that come out and participate in yoga outdoors on the patio, immersive summer camps, immersive programs that we have coming up as well.
It'd be great to have a summer camp out there.
We have about 600 kids out there this summer. In fact, right now they're out there enjoying it. It's a little bit hot and humid, but we get them outside no matter what.
So if you were going into a classroom, I don't know what age kids are. Let's say they're third graders.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
What would you tell them if you're addressing, let's say there's 30 kids in a class and you're going to talk about the Indian Creek Nature Center. What would you say to them? What's the benefits of being outside? What's the benefits of walking on a trail? What's the benefits of being in nature? How would you tell a little kid that
Yeah.
just might be thinking, who is this guy? What's he talking about?
Well, the great thing that we do is that we don't just tell them, we show them, and we put them outside, right? So the magic that happens when you're chasing a frog in the wetland, or you're tromping through the woods and you see a snake or a squirrel or a deer, for a third grader, for any kid, those are the formative experiences. When you're out building forts in the woods, you don't have to tell them the benefits of nature. They're learning the benefits of nature there. And we're talking to them about how to do it safely. We're talking about how to use your imagination as you're doing it. We're talking to them about the benefits of being outside in nature, about why this frog is so important to the outdoors, why land protection is so important to the outdoors. But we do all of our work because we believe in creating champions of nature. We believe that if you immerse people into an experience, they will really grow up wanting to fight and protect that experience. And so being a champion of nature is our vision. That's what we want to create with all of our community members.
Where else would you get that? If you think about it, you go to school, you're in a playground, go home, it's all concrete streets.
Yeah.
Where do you get a chance just to go out and hear the birds chirp?
Well, I think a lot less people are finding those opportunities nowadays. And so having a protected place like Indian Creek Nature Center or any of our public park systems, county park systems, are really important for our mental and physical health.
Talk about the mental side of it. I mean, obviously, physically, you can get on the trails, get some exercise, get up early. I think it'd be cool early morning or late at night, or, just as sunset, you're out running around. But just talk about what happens mentally when you're out in the woods.
There's been a ton of studies that have been done about this, but one specifically out of Harvard shows that just 15 minutes in nature lowers the cortisol levels in your brain, and cortisol is what causes stress. And so by lowering just 15 minutes outdoors, lowering those cortisol levels, you see less stress in your life. Wow. And that compounds as you spend more and more time outside in nature. And so, I mean, that's the mental health benefits right there. I mean, decreasing stress. And it occurs because you're outside in sunlight, breathing fresh air, listening to natural sounds. Those are all things that we think of as a luxury. And for some people, they may be a luxury. But access to nature is and should be a basic human right for everyone.
Yeah, it's amazing. You think about it, you get up in the morning, get in your car, go to work, whatever you're doing. Where do you ever have time for yourself, or just to be able to meditate, or to get away from everybody?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you got there.
Absolutely.
I like it that the kids, you just take them out and let them enjoy the trails and get outside. That's what it's for, right?
Well, and that's really what we believe in. We want to get those people outside, and that's really important. Our leadership in the community really is how do we engage more people into outdoors and into the nature. And it's about the trails, but there's all sorts of different ways that we can lead in that area.
Yeah, cool. Tell us about the Blue Bridge. I read about that recently.
Yeah.
They moved it, and now it's on your property. But tell us about that, because that's a cool.
So that Blue Bridge, which was iconic to many people coming across Indian Creek, coming to the Nature Center, was actually built in the 1800s, and it was a single lane bridge that was actually on the National Historic Registry. And so when Lynn County knew they had to replace that bridge, they wanted to work with an organization to protect it. And so being so close to our property, we raised our hand and said, yes, we would love to work with you on this. And so the county actually went to lift the bridge to bring it to our property. It had a little bit of a kerfluffle. The steel broke in several places as they were lifting it, and it actually fell into the creek. But they were able to salvage it. And it's a little bit shorter than it was going over the creek, but it now sits in between two of our prairies on our trail system. And it's a footbridge that connects the two prairies together and provides a unique walking space. We really think it's a win-win for everybody around. Lynn County really wanted to protect the bridge and save the bridge, and we needed an opportunity to celebrate that heritage. I mean, 1800 history is pretty significant.
Why was it blue? Do you know?
It was built blue in the 18.
Really?
No. It was built blue in the 80s. Is what I mean. And it was actually chosen by the paint contractor because that's what his business color was.
Oh,
And so he wanted to just promote his business, and so it's become known as the Blue Bridge, and we've decided to keep it that way.
that's cool.
It was originally when it was built, it was just raw steel that was there, and so it didn't have paint color initially. It had been a various combination over the years, brown and green, but everybody really appreciates the blue.
Now, if you're not from Cedar Rapids and you want to get to Indian Creek Nature Center and you don't know where Bertram Road is,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about different ways to get to Indian Creek Nature
Yeah,
Center.
the easiest way is to take Mount Vernon Road out away from downtown. And
Okay.
if you take Mount Vernon Road out, you'll actually see our signs. There's several places to turn, but you can turn right onto, from Mount Vernon Road, you can turn right onto Bertram Road, and you'll go by the old Barn Nature Center, which we still use to this day. It's still a part of the Nature Center. And then we are actually located on Otis Road. Our main facility is on Otis Road, which is just off of Bertram.
And you can come up Highway 13 going north toward Marion and come back
Correct.
west on
Highway 13.
on
And
Otis Road.
yeah, and then there's a scenic view if you want. If you're going from downtown Cedar Rapids, you can actually take Otis Road out and follow the river. Oftentimes, it's a great viewpoint to see bald eagles as you're driving out, and lots of wildlife. And that Otis Road takes you right up to our property as well.
Great. Tell us about some upcoming events. I know you got a lot of things happening up there.
Yeah.
And what's coming up?
We have events of all seasons, and one of the ones that's coming up, which is a really popular event, is our Monarch Festival. That's happening on July 13th. Monarch Festival is a celebration of all things pollinators, and pollinators are extremely important to our environment. And monarchs are actually, I mean, everybody thinks of honeybees as a pollinator, but monarchs are actually really important pollinators as well. And so we, one of the most popular pieces of the event is the Adopt a Caterpillar, where families can actually adopt a baby caterpillar and grow it into a monarch butterfly. It's about a 2 to 3 week process, and one that's really popular, helping kids to see the life cycle, help to see metamorphosis and how that occurs.
Yeah, you put it in a jar and put holes in top
it-
and then put a stick
yep.
and grass.
Put milkweed in there. They love milkweed, and you can see it grow. But Monarch Fest is a celebration of all that. We do monarch butterfly releases. It's great for families with young kids, face painting, lots of different activities to do. But we also have education programs as well that occur there for adults on the benefits of native habitat and prairie grasses and how you can help to restore your yard to these for the benefit of pollinators.
I think it's neat to see prairie grass because what people may not be aware of in the 1800s before, when Iowa was just people were roaming around, nobody was here.
Yeah.
It's all grass. There wasn't any trees. Eventually they became trees. It was all prairie grass, and it was all burnt like probably every year, every other year, just big fire, and it'd just take it all out, and there wasn't any trees. So prairie grass is neat to see that.
Iowa has the most altered landscape of any state, and way less than 1% of the natural prairie remains. And so what's been really unique about that is prairie was our natural water capture and water filtration system.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have significant flooding issues 100 years ago because we had all this prairie that was in the ground. And so flooding, while flooding's always happened, it's really increased in intensity because there's less places for water to go.
Yeah.
Prairie roots grow 12 feet deep into the ground, where in corn, soybean, grass roots we're talking inches into
I
the
was
ground.
going to say 6 to 8 inches or something.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was 12 feet.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
And you think about the water capture that's in those roots. I mean, it can hold really millions of gallons of water in a small area, and so that's when we don't have that, then our water has to go somewhere.
Well, increase in farming, they kind of take a lot of the ground now. A lot of it's in CRP, but a lot of it they just plow up and disc up, and
Absolutely.
they're planting a lot more.
Which is why a few years ago the Nature Center added a regenerative organic farm to our programs.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's
What do you
called
grow?
Etzel Sugar Grove Farm. It's actually located just north west of Marion, near Tuma Soccer Complex. It's 190 acres that was donated to the Nature Center in 2016. And we're piloting and working with partners on regenerative organic farming. And so what that means is it's Like I described earlier with regenerative, it's farming that actually gives back and enhances the soil. So rather than pulling nutrients out of the soil, we're very focused on how do you put nutrients back into the soil. Organic farming, I think, has become pretty popular. People understand it a little bit more, but it's really growing without harmful chemicals. And so we have at Etzel Sugar Grove Farm, we have organic chicken flock, and we actually sell those eggs to various different businesses at the Newbo Market. We sell it to Frontier Co-op, who uses it. We sell to a lot of different companies. But then we grow a variety of different crops, everything from fruits and vegetables to nuts. We have a nut orchard that's up there. But then we have some large-scale organic operations as well. We have a hay field that we use for cattle, 30 acres of hay that we're growing organically. We have a pasture that's used for goats and cattle. And then we have several partnerships up at the farm focused on research and education. The Rodale Institute has their Midwest Organic Center. Rodale is a nationwide, almost a global leader in organic farming. They have a Midwest center where they do research at our property. So it's really designed to help to push sustainability within the environment forward in Iowa.
Tell us about your employees or who works for you in the Indian Creek Nature Center.
Yeah, we have 18 employees, and they are what make the magic work. They're the experts in the field. We have everything from naturalists who really love to get in and get dirty with the kids in the soil to teachers for our preschool. We have a whole land team of folks who work side by side who manage the 500 acres in the regenerative farm. They do everything from prairie burns to chainsaw cutting. Responding to the derecho was a really important piece in our history. And then we have a development and marketing staff and some administrative staff as well. But ultimately, the majority of our staff are in our two mission areas, education and land management.
What's your budget a year?
It's right about $1.8 million.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Private funds?
Mostly private funds. Yeah, we don't receive any direct tax allocations. We're a private nonprofit organization, and our revenue is split pretty evenly between endowment revenue, earned revenue, as well as donations, contributions, sponsorships. Things
So you can always use a donation, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Membership, people can join as a membership of the Nature Center as well and get various different benefits.
what's that cost? Tell us about
There's various different levels, but it's really affordable, ranging from $35 to $75 a year. And then we do have lifetime memberships that are available for $1,000 a year as well.
Neat. Did I also read that you were an Eagle Scout?
I am, yeah.
Tell us about that a little bit. Switching gears, I got to life. I didn't get quite to Eagle, and the Scoutmaster quit, and I got more interested in football and sports and whatever, and just kind of wished I always would have gotten it.
But still had a great benefit of going through life and
Order of the Arrow, the whole, we did the whole deal.
Yeah.
But I know it takes a bad rap today because what went on.
Yeah.
With some of the kids, but I always tell people there's so much benefit in Boy Scouts and what it taught you, and the things that I'll never forget that I learned. And I was just at an area where I tied a boat up. Well, they didn't know how to tie a boat, and I just did a tent line taut hitch, and stuff that I remember when I was a kid. I was 9 or 10, 11 years old, and especially with nature, especially how to survive, how to do things, build a fire. A lot of people don't even know how to build a fire.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about the Scouts briefly.
I think that was a pretty formative part of my years. In Virginia when I was growing up, I was in scouting as well.
Yeah.
And it taught me the outdoor stuff, but that was only the tool to teach me leadership skills. Yeah. And I think the leadership skills are what I've really gotten out of the Boy Scouts. I also was in the Order of the Arrow and participated on a variety of things in that regards. And the benefits that scouting gives to create future business leaders is often overlooked because you're teaching these kids how to work on communication, how to work on interpersonal conflict, how to be a servant leader. I mean, that was a skill that I got from the Boy Scouts. And you're right, it does get a bad rap, but ultimately my formative years were were in scouting, and so much so that both of my sons are in scouting right now as well, and something that I believe very heartedly in as a strong program.
Well, it's such a benefit to get outside and go camping. There's something about hiking in 5 to 10 miles. You got your backpack, throw your tent out.
That self-reliance when you're in the middle of nowhere and you just have to figure it out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that builds character in a way that not many other experiences can.
Or you're in your sleeping bag. It's about 25 degrees and it's wet, and you're freezing, and you know you got to learn how to survive.
You say I never want to do this again, but then when you look back, it's one of the best experiences of your life.
Absolutely, and a good group of kids, and so anyway, that's interesting. So tell us, we got what's coming up. We got the Monarch Fest. Anything else you want to talk about? What's any activities coming up this summer?
Yeah, we have a free yoga series, as I mentioned, for adults. That's really that's every Tuesday evening.
Okay.
It's out on our patio, and you can just bring your yoga mat and do yoga outside. It's a great time to be able to interact outdoors and just have some decompression after work.
What time is that?
That's at 6 o'clock every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday night. Okay.
Yeah.
Just bring your own mat, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then we always have a variety of different volunteer opportunities that are available. So we have 800 different volunteers that happen or that participate in our programs every year. Everything from corporate volunteers. In fact, we had a group from True North out yesterday who was hauling brush for us. And always look at corporate volunteer groups. But then we also have volunteer teachers. We have volunteer land managers. If you like to sling a chainsaw, we've got a job for you. Come out and help clean up the woods and maintain the trails. And so volunteering is a really big activity, and all that information is on our website that somebody can access.
If you volunteer, you can keep us busy, right?
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
enough out there to do.
Oh, there's always enough to do. Yeah.
I imagine you do a lot of mowing, don't you?
We do. Yep. We have volunteer mowers, and then we upstaff during the summer quite a bit for our programs and our land maintenance.
Yeah,
and but if you like to sit on a mower, we've got a job for you.
So tell us, we all went through in 2020, I think, the derecho.
Yeah.
So tell us when that hit, what you did about it with volunteering, how you
Sure.
tree canopy was what, half of it wiped out, 60%?
Yeah, 60%. Yeah.
Awful. So just tell us a little bit about what the center went through.
We were, as you all know, we were in the middle of the pandemic, and things were changing there. We were still trying to navigate what we had closed down from about the middle of March through beginning of July, and we had just started to open back up. And what was interesting is during the pandemic, it was without a doubt some of our busiest months on our trails ever.
That's cool.
Because all people could do was get outside with their family group. Right. And so we saw a huge surge for our services in April, May, June, July. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, August 10th comes around and the derecho hits, and we had to shut down everything. And so I often say that the pandemic was not as big of a problem for us as the derecho. We have 500 acres of land, and 400 of those are wooded. And so being able to respond to that type of disaster, it was pretty disastrous. The first 2 weeks we were in crisis management mode. We were just trying to get access to the buildings and get access to the various different places. Thankfully, our main headquarters did not have a lot of damage, but our farm took a lot of damage. In fact, several of the buildings there had to come down. But after the first 2 weeks was when actually my scouting leadership skills kicked in. I thought to myself, I've got to really figure out where do we go from here, because without a doubt, the derecho was the single biggest impact on Indian Creek Nature Center in our entire history. It completely shut down our property in a way that we had never been shut down before. We had to stop our programs. We had to look at what do we do with our staff now. And so it was interesting. I actually took about 2 days away out of town and left about 2 weeks after the derecho and said to myself, I just have to wrap my head around where do we go from here. And thankfully, I had a great crew who was continuing to chop up logs and move trees and all of those types of things. But I went away and I reflected on what could this opportunity mean for us. And it didn't really feel like an opportunity in the middle of it, but looking back, the reason that we opened our nature-based preschool, Creekside Forest School, was because of the derecho. We added new programs after the derecho and after the pandemic, which was really unheard of in the nonprofit community. And it's because our education staff had nothing to do. This was a dream and a vision of ours. And the derecho caused enough of an impact in our organization that we were able to shift easier than we would if we just said we want to start this new program. And so having the time to reflect and say, how can we turn this into an opportunity, was really where we were looking at how to turn the derecho into a positive thing. Now, it took us 3 years to recover. In fact, it was just last summer that we kind of closed the book on derecho recovery. Because we're a private nonprofit, we actually did not have federal funding or FEMA money to help restore our woods. So all of our property trail restoration was privately funded. And so it took a tremendous amount of volunteers, took a tremendous amount of staff work. But I got to tell you, people lock in around good leadership. And they saw that we weren't just going to recover, but we were going to figure out what was next for the future. And so we actually changed our trail system a little bit during that. And then we decided to expand our trail system as well. So we weren't just going to go back to normal. We were going to look at what can we take advantage of this opportunity and do more of for the community.
And you think about the pandemic, I remember seeing people near our office, there's trails, and it really picked up. People riding their bikes, going for walks, and in your case, enjoying nature. And I think that woke people up. Hey, let's go out and have some fun. Yeah. Let's go see what the other life has here.
Well, in a stressful time, nature was a place of respite for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's hard on everybody. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of neat. You took a horrible thing like the derecho and you turned it into a positive and extra programming and had all the volunteer help. And that just tells you the great thing about Iowans and Iowa people.
Absolutely.
And people went, I was amazed. It was 3 or 4 days after that. I was driving around CR. I think I was up north toward Marion. I just drove around and just everybody was out helping each other.
Yeah.
Everybody just went to work. Nationally, it wasn't a lot on the news, kind of who cares about it. 140 mile an hour wind in Iowa, but people just grabbed their chainsaws and people just went through neighborhoods and helped everybody. And it was amazing, the recovery effort.
And we got so much further because we worked together as a community. And it was a good time for humanity in this area.
Yeah, it's kind of an Iowa strong. You hear that, but it's so true.
Oh, absolutely.
People of Iowa came together.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, what else? What keeps you up at night?
Oh, what keeps me up at night? It's really how do you continue to respond to growth? We've been in a tremendous period of growth since we opened our new headquarters, Amazing Space. Demand and attendance has continued to increase. Many of our programs have a waiting list. Our preschool has 200 kids on a waiting list.
Fantastic.
Our summer camps, our field trips, we're not able to meet demand. And so that's what keeps me up at night is how do we figure out the path from where we are to growth? Yeah. And for us, it requires facilities, it requires staffing. And so we're going to be looking at that over the next few years is how do we continue to lead within the community to respond to demand, because it's not just as simple as snapping your fingers and saying we have everything we need then and we can just hire more staff and do more programs.
Sure, daycare is a huge thing. It's
absolutely
everywhere. It's hard to get. I can't think of a better place to have them outside in nature. And what a neat thing that is. Well,
and that's really great for parents, but it's really great for those kids as well. Yeah. In fact, those are the stories, hearing about a child that comes out and has social issues or has emotional issues, and even sometimes as quick as 1 or 2 days spent outside at the nature center, they can really start to turn around. In fact, some of our preschool kids grew up were born during the pandemic right now, and so they were limited in their social interaction, and so they come in the first week of school, they don't get along with other kids because they've never had those interactions before. But spending time outside and having to problem solve outside with with two children together, within a week they're getting along like best buddies. And those are the types of things that occur when you're outside in nature.
I like the idea that it's 4 seasons a year in Iowa. It gets cold, so what? You just dress right.
Dress appropriately.
Absolutely.
There are a tremendous amount of winter activities. Snow skiing, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing. Fat tire biking is a huge winter activity. There's so much to do outside in the winter. And Iowa is beautiful in the winter time.
It is. It's quiet. It's more peaceful. Light snow coming down. You're on the trails. What a better thing.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of you've done up there?
What am I most proud of?
Yeah.
Without a doubt, I'm most proud of the staff on the team.
Great.
I really worked as a leader. I really worked to empower them, so that we're doing a tremendous amount with not a lot of staff, and ultimately they are empowered to. I believe in them. I trust them. I give them the resources they need, and then I say go off and do it. And I can't micromanage. I shouldn't micromanage, but my goal is to give them the resources they need to be successful. And oftentimes, as what happens, is they do it better and bigger than I would have done it myself. And because they were just empowered to go off and do their work. And out of all the things we've achieved, raising a lot of money for a new building, adding a new farm, new programs, responding to the derecho, that would not be possible without the great colleagues I have on my team.
That's a neat tribute to your folks, your leaders. So. Yeah. Well, this has been great. Do you have anything else you want to add here before we wrap up?
I think people just need to continue to know about the Nature Center. We take every opportunity that we can get to talk about it, and it's not abnormal that we see people from all parts of the corridor coming up. We even see people from Des Moines coming over for weekend trips to visit the Nature Center. So we welcome people from all areas of the state, even outside of the state, all backgrounds. Our trails are free and open to the public, and so we just really encourage people, if it's not at Indian Creek Nature Center, anywhere you have the opportunity, get outside.
That's neat.
Yeah, enjoy the nature.
Well, John, it's been our pleasure to have you. It's been fantastic. Yeah. If you've not been to the Indian Creek Nature Center, you're really missing something, folks. So definitely get outside, get on the trails, enjoy the woods, and enjoy the peacefulness of being out in nature. It's fantastic. And you're right, your blood pressure will go down about 10 points.
Absolutely, 100%. Even a walk outside in the middle of the workday is a huge benefit.
Probably a good idea. I probably just need to leave for 10 minutes and come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, John, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you having me.